Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am Sofie Marin, founder and CEO of Arts Dynamics. We are your sparring partner for creative business growth with digital innovation. And I'm so excited to be back for another episode of Arts Dynamics Talks. These streaming sessions that we're doing here started actually during COVID as a means to figure out what was going on around the world, to tune in with other creators, to learn what they were doing that was working, what wasn't working, and also to shine a light on good people, good examples, and people who were able to not only survive but thrive in very disrupted times. And here we are again. And actually today, as we move into this session, we just learned these past few weeks there's been huge disruptions in the world of AI. OpenClaw creator Peter joined OpenAI. We've got Kung Fu humanoid robots making waves globally online as well. And to have a talk today and to talk about where do we as human fit into all of this, I feel is like a great start as we now start the new series and the new season of Arts Dynamics Talks for 2026. And I couldn't find a better person to have this conversation with than my dear friend, Shaena, who is a wing woman, Shaena Harrison. And I've had the privilege of following her for a few years. So I've been seeing behind the scenes how she's built up her own presence and stepped into a leadership role the way she has. And I'm just going to end there and just first of all say, Shaena, welcome to Arts Dynamics Talks.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad we're finally doing this.
Oh, no, me too. So for people who might want to find out more about you, obviously you have a huge network, but if there is anyone out there who doesn't know who you are or what a wing woman is, can you please shine a light on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always joke, it's like I'm a recovering event producer turned professional wing woman. And to give a bit of a backstory, because it actually does have to do with AI. So I lost my job 4 times in 3 years, right? So I went from working for one of the big fintech companies here in Sweden in 2019, having the word Corona in my vocabulary before anybody else in the world actually knew what it was, to getting laid off from there, and then, the next 4 companies. And so it was November 2022, and ChatGPT had just come out to the mass market. So hello, OpenAI, huge fan. And I got a phone call from a friend who said, "Hey, Shaena, do you remember when I met you at that event 8 years ago and you introduced me to everybody in the room? Can you do that for me again? I want to pay for you to go with me to Slush and do what you do. Can you be my professional wing woman?" And I was like, "What is a professional wing woman?" And I typed it into ChatGPT, and it's like, "You like to help people find love." And I'm like, "No, I don't." But coming from the world of events and event production, and you'll know this, I mean, we were talking about this prior, but like when budgets are streamlined or cut, the first thing usually to go is the creative bits, right? It's the events, it's the arts programs, it's the whatever it may be, because it's the intangible, but it's the most important thing. So fast forward with a little help of AI, and again, I don't think I'd be here today because it helped me capture everything. I now run Wing People, which is a global collective of humans whose brain does the weird super connector thing, like, oh, you need to meet so-and-so. And we get hired to go to events with clients to basically make sure that they meet the right people. So we help accelerate business. So whether you're an event organizer or someone who attends a lot of events, we want to make sure that you get the ROI, but I say the return on interaction, not the return on investment. Those kind of go hand in hand. So that's the long, short story.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I think it's so great. We also launched within Arts Dynamics AI for creators, and there's a lot of talk about the techie bits, including AI, robotics, and other things. But when it comes down to human connections and the trust that builds between humans, and as you said, rightly so, attending events, going out to network, find your way into new circles of friends and new business opportunities potentially, it is easier said than done. And I'm really happy that we're able to have this session with you. I hope that we have plenty of time to really dive deep into this, to have your take. Before we do, I just want to acknowledge people who are with us live, to just say hello, welcome to you too. So exciting that you decided to join us live. So feel free to just drop a comment in the chat, who you are, where you're from, what you're most excited about with this talk. If you have any questions for Shaena as well, you can just drop them there and I'll do what I can to include them in the live talk. If you are listening to the replay in a podcast version, there is is also on several platforms a comment section. So you can always connect with us there as well. So going back to you then, Shaena, there was something I actually would like to just talk about what led you to starting this in the first place. And the reason why I want to start there is because lately, because of all the disruptions we're seeing, I see more and more people either being laid off, having a hard time finding a job, and we're also hearing all these horror stories about people not being able to hold on to their jobs. So there's a lot of fear and anxiety amongst many, many people, not only in the creator industry, and they worry what will happen to me if I am being fired, if I am being let go, or if I cannot find a job that actually would hire me. And here you are, and you've had that journey leading up to where you are today, and now you are really thriving. What is your take, and do you have any advice for people?
Oh, I have so much advice.
Mhm.
So let me back you up. So again, I'm an immigrant in Sweden. So I'm originally from Canada. I came to Sweden in 2011, pregnant with my second child. And for anybody who's not from the country that they live in, and you don't start with a network, it can be very hard. I always joke that, like, I say Sweden's like the mafia, but I'm changing it to networks are like the mafia. You need to know someone, marry someone, or murder someone to get in. But once you're in, and by the way, I haven't murdered anyone, but once you're in, you're in. And I think for anybody who is new to a new space, or career changing, or having an unfortunate layoff, or whatever it may be, the first time it happened to me, it was like PTSD, wasn't expecting it, like didn't know what to do, and I was lost, right? The second time it happened, I was like, well, again, like I wasn't expecting it. This is not what I signed up for. The third time I was like, okay, something's happening. And then the fourth time I was like, all right, the universe trying to tell me something. I'm just stubborn. But someone who came into my life that made a huge impact on me, unfortunately, is no longer on this earth, was a guy named Chris Rodriguez. And Chris, he won the idea pitch for TEDx Stockholm in 2022. And his pitch was 10 jobs in 10 years, how your job is not your identity. And so I was there the day that he won the pitch, and I used to work with TEDx Stockholm. So I basically beelined it over, and I said, hi, who are you? Because we're going to be friends. And I have a game that I play with people that I tell everyone about, the LinkedIn game, where when you're meeting someone, you have to guess how many connections you have in common. And the loser will buy a lunch or coffee, whatever it may be. But it's a really fun way sort of to gamify LinkedIn. And also, again, I can talk about that, but like a lot of people just go, let's connect on LinkedIn. And then you forget why you should follow up and all of that stuff. Anyways, Chris gave his talk in April of 2023. I recommend if anyone can find it. It is one of the most inspirational talks about understanding that your job is not your identity. And he became my accidental coach. And with him, I learned a lot about, first of all, if you lose your job, it's not your fault. Like, shame is going to wash over you. And there's a lot of regret, or what could I have done better? Was it me? I mean, you can be fired or laid off or whatever, and you can still have the same experience. And so that was one thing, is going like, okay, so let the shame go. And then something that he did was the 100-day unemployment challenge, because he was laid off somewhere. And again, what he taught me was talking about your failure in the public light. Now, for anyone who is not necessarily wanting to do things public, I totally get that. But for me, it was learning how to reframe a failure into a learning. And I think over the last couple of years, what you've seen for me is basically coming from this really like low place and like slowly building on and on and on to the point then when 2022 happened, I had all of the tools in my toolbox to go, okay, let me explore the next option. So I definitely recommend to watch his talk.
Yeah, thank you. And it's very inspiring to hear about that, because as I mentioned, when you are being laid off or it is hard to find a job, it often does hit your identity. And speaking of networking, it makes it sometimes harder to go out and network, because if your identity is so linked to what you do, then who are you if you no longer have that identity? I actually had a conversation with someone today who about the recent changes now with AI and the disruptions that so many feel. And the grief that often comes also with change, and you don't know how you fit in, who you are in this new environment. So I think also for that reason, I'm really, really happy that you are here today, because you are such a good example. Yeah.
Thank you. But just to add to that too, and I think this is where like AI is super exciting. And I think a lot of people, there's a lot of fear about using AI. But when I started using, for example, ChatGPT, and obviously there's Claude and all these other platforms out there, I started to just use it like a coach. Like I would talk to it like a human. And I think that's something that I don't think anyone taught me to do that. I just learned to do that. But what I'm trying to say here is that like with AI, and if you're somebody who's going through something, or like you don't know where to go, or you want to like idea jam, or go like, what can I do with it? Like we have this beautiful technology at our fingertips now to help you redefine who you are, reframe things, ask it questions, and be like, okay, so I've just lost my job. What should I say to somebody? Right. And be like, should I tell them the whole story, or what? Like, and then you can be like, I'm going for an interview. Like, what should I do here? So I think if you like, again, for one idea, if you use it as a coach, it's such a beautiful tool to help you get to where you need to go. But again, we still need humans at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, I love that. So that's a great tip then for people who are maybe looking to find their way, forward and what to do. Then they can use these LLMs the way you say and try that out. So here you are now. You've got this amazing company that you're building. So what's going on? What are you seeing and what are you picking up? What is the feedback you're getting from people?
Honestly, it is so exciting. I mean, I was saying, I know Adam was watching, I was saying earlier, like, I feel like I've struck oil. So I've been at this for 3 years now. It's going to be 3 years in March. And when you're an early adopter, you're early to the scene and everyone's like, what's that? What are you doing? They don't get it. Right now, I'm hitting that tipping point of people going, I get it. So when I launched, I had incredible clients out the door. I'll talk about like Ansi, who hopefully she'll see this. She was the first wing woman to like understand what we did and how to bring it with her. So from a client perspective, we used to go to like Slush and Tech Barbecue and all these wonderful conferences together. And what I learned from her is, because part of what we do, if you've seen How I Met Your Mother, have you met Ted? Right? We don't do love, but we do business love. What I learned from her in that process that I didn't even realize that we were doing is when I would introduce her, I would change the introduction. And I knew I was doing that. I would change the introduction based on who I was talking to, because for someone like me who has a sales and commercial background, that the receiver needs to hear the message for them. It's not about the person pitching. And she learned by watching me do it for her, how I talked about her. And she was able to then tweak her pitch or the way that she spoke to people based on how she was learning from me. So what I learned from her in that instance is that I'm doing live coaching without even realize that I was coaching, because I'm not like, you should do it like this. She was just watching me in the situation. So that like was one great example. And like another one I think is when somebody understands, like Adrian here at Epicenter, whenever you're out with him, he's just like, oh my God, you need to meet Shaena. She's doing the coolest thing. And I'm like, you're being a wingman. Like, thank you. I couldn't pay for that. That's amazing. So I think there's just this wonderful, like, I don't even know how to describe. I'm sure there's a marketing word for it, but like this full circle effect of when people finally get it, like they get it. And then all of a sudden, like, it's, as I said, it's like my wings are soaring, right?
Yeah, I love that. And I agree with you. When people start to get it, it's the same with Art Dynamics. I've been carrying this for so many years, and people are like, but what is it that you do? The people that I work with, they get it, but we haven't really been able to verbally describe what it is that we do. But now more and more people are coming, they're starting to understand that there is this tipping point, and there's a lot of talk, especially in the tech world, about humanity. What does it mean to be human? And there is this longing for human connection, and both arts and culture provides that. But you and your company, you definitely do this 24/7 as wing people. So what would you say? Because what I notice, and I wonder if you agree with me, I see, especially here in Sweden and the Nordics, there are a lot of events, so many events. And the events are also maturing, and the topics we're discussing are maturing too. So coming from your side and having started this company and organization now, what would you say, where are we heading with events? in the event space? Where do you see that, and where do you see you fit in and your company in that?
Great question. Okay, so I think, yeah, we're seeing a resurgence. More and more events are coming back. I think what we're seeing too is like, we don't want the same old, like, panel, keynote, small networking break. I don't think we're looking for that anymore. We're looking for interactivity. We're looking for great conversations. We're looking for how can we connect with people in the room that either have similar interests, or if you're going there for investors funding or whatever it may be, like, how do you find the people in a way that allows you to plant that seed? At least that's what I talk about with my clients. When you go to an event, you're not pitching, you're building a relationship, you're planting that seed, you're opening the door for future conversations. So you need to be able to be interesting, but also empathetic. You need to be a good listener. You need to be able to ask great questions. And for the events industry right now, I think more people are starting to get that. So I don't know if you're aware, I'm part of a community called the World Experience Organization. And for those of us that are what I call experience designers, and it can be anybody who, for me, makes sense that you have some sort of touch point with humans. Now, an experience designer can be you who runs art dynamics because you're creating an ecosystem for people within the creative space to have a home. It could be a paramedic who, helps save somebody's lights. Like, it's all about the little moments that you're creating for that one person in the entire space. And I think that's where events are starting to see the shift. People are understanding they need to be more intentional with how they design for their audience. It's no longer event-centric, it's audience-centric.
Yeah, and as you say that, I start to think about the performing arts, the music industry, the cultural and creative industry as a whole. These industries do events all the time, productions, tours, guest plays. And I'm thinking, how would this fit into that? Let's say you have a ballet production or a concert tour or a theatrical production somewhere. What can they take away from what you're just saying? How can they apply what you are just sharing here and now?
Yeah, great questions. I think for like events like that, I mean, regardless if you're a big B2B conference or if you're producing a ballet show, again, you need to design for the human. So what I would recommend to them is like, there's people out there that do experience design. I mean, I offer that as part of our services too, is like, let's talk about from before you even buy your ticket to when you buy your ticket to what happens in the lead up to the show to what happens afterwards. I mean, if you really break down any sort of gathering or event, they all kind of have the same like framework, right? They just happen to have a different content engine.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you look at smart technology these days, for example, we were talking earlier about Luma. I am a huge Luma fan now. And I've worked in the ticketing technology industry. Like, I used to work for Ticketmaster back in Canada. And just to see the ease and use of platforms these days and how they're designed to be, self-service, less clunky, easy to use, but also like for Luma, for example, by the way, I'm not getting paid to say this, but I'm just like, I'm a huge fan, is that you can co-create. So for example, Tech Arena last week here in Stockholm, they put all their side events on Luma. And for me, who was producing an unofficial side event, I got to submit it to the Tech Arena calendar, which meant you could see everything in one place, which meant that audience got access to different events that they wouldn't normally know about because the communication might not have been done in time. So I think those sort of things is like when we start to use technology effectively in that space will allow people to have better discovery, to know what's going on around them, to learn, right?
Yeah, that is a great example. And I think it's great that we're having this conversation because when we went into this talk today, we were sort of focused on B2B, Tech Arena and other tech events, but they can also teach the cultural and creative organizations and the productions that I mentioned. I can also sort of share knowledge between them because, as you said, if you are able to do that through Luma, which is also very generous, I would say, very generous, from Tech Arena to do that.
Yeah.
But it also means that, let's say you are a theater or a concert hall or a museum or an art gallery. If you are to implement what you just shared, that means that you can also optimize whatever kind of product it is that you are offering more service. So let's say you have a gallery. I'm just sort of free flowing now with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Let's say you have an art gallery exhibition and you have it on a site where maybe people get more involved. That's what I'm hearing you say. People might want to interact or even create something to go alongside as side events or add-ons. Then if this performance arts venues, theater gallery, were able to incorporate that somehow the way Tech Arena did, then that could be a path to reach more audience members and maybe increase. I've never seen that I've never seen that before.
No, neither have I. And that's why I say it's quite interesting. I mean, again, like just going back to the world of Ticketmaster, I mean, Ticketmaster got bought by Live Nation, and, you know, like there's a whole monopoly and there's a whole bunch of stuff in the lawsuits and what it may be. And I think when I go back, okay, again, I'm going to be talking about Luma, but like when I go back to, I'm seeing like this co-creation, like let's support the community, let's not close it off. And it doesn't mean that other platforms are not doing the right thing, but I don't think they've thought about the bigger picture of how do I make it, you know, more collaborative. So now I'm just going like, imagine the city of Stockholm had a Luma page, and then you could put all events. It's got a calendar. You could, I mean, the city of Stockholm would still approve or deny what should be on there, but it would make it much easier for like people to know what's going on in the city. You could do it at so many different levels, right? Like even for Epicenter could have all of their events on Luma and then decide which ones should be showcased. So, but I mean, it does also mean that other ticketing companies or other technology like this is going to potentially get, you know, sideswiped. And I'm going to say a company that I love, which is Confetti, you know, Stockholm born and bred, and, you know, they're amazing. The team behind them are amazing. You know, so actually maybe Confetti should do something like this and, you know, take market share, you know, because it's the same thing as like, you know, when Uber launched or when like Airbnb launched, you know, we're all ready for disruption.
Yeah.
So it's just a case of who's going to disrupt the next thing.
Yeah, and this is not only abundance thinking, this is exponential thinking. It is about more blue ocean style. How can we make sure all of us rise together?
Exactly.
And I love what you're bringing to this conversation because, as you said, and even for our events, I'm again thinking out loud. We've got a summit coming up on the 19th of March. And we are moving to this Luma. Thank you for that recommendation. I had team members say that before, and you came in and you're like, Sofie, why haven't you moved over already? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that. So maybe then, because this is real time for people tuning in, this is what we do. This is the whole gist of what we're doing here. We also innovate real time. So let's then set it up on Luma and see if anyone from the community wants to set up a side event or something to be added. Let's just try it out. So, okay. So if anyone here's what I'm saying, you want to be featured or you want to do something alongside our Arts Dynamics Impact Summit on the 19th of March, then reach out. And Shaena, we need to ask you then how to make this work, obviously.
So it's quite easy. You just have like a master account platform. And then you send the link to the organizer, and then they just press a button and it's there. That's what happened with Tech Arena. I don't know the back end, but I assume it's super easy.
Yes. Okay, cool. Well, I think so. Challenge accepted. We've now decided that. And Adam, who's listening, my team member, Adam, we need to set this up somehow. We'll figure it out. This is what happens in the world of tech and innovation, folks. We need to be fast and agile, but also the importance, obviously, is to have a vision of what we want, where we're heading, and why that is important. So we know that to be able to make fast decisions, it has to fit into the wider strategy. So speaking on that, Shaena, when you go into events, because I guess you have different stakeholders, obviously the people hiring you when you go there, you also have the event host who might also want to bring you in or work together with you there. And then obviously there are other people on site, just normal audience goers who might also benefit from you being there. So let's start with the first avatar, the one who actually hires you as a wing person to walk with them to an event. Adam says, I'm on it. That's excellent, Adam. Adam is from Hyper Island and he's super fast. I really appreciate that, Adam. So going back to your clients, Shaena, when they come to you, do you talk overall strategy and how this fits into a bigger picture, or how does it work? Let's pretend that I was a client of yours and I say, hey, can you help me? What would you do? Walk me through it.
So the first question would be, okay, so what are you trying to achieve? So what are you trying to achieve?
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I didn't plan that. Okay, so I am looking to connect with people who are at the very forefront of creative tech and business for impact. So, leaders, ecosystem builders, investors, artists, and creators who are incorporating tech maybe already as part of what they're doing. So, those kinds of people,
And
B2B.
why do you want to connect with them?
Because we're looking for the great examples. We want to learn from people who are actually doing it to see what's working. And we want to build this amazing community with brilliant creators and techies who want to come together to cross innovate and create solutions for tomorrow.
Brilliant. So imagine we're going to your event on the 19th of March. So what we would do previous to this is basically sit down and have a kickoff meeting and go exactly these questions. Who are you? What are you trying to achieve? What are your offerings? And so forth, just so we can kind of get that sort of packaged. Depending on the event, are you going to have a networking app or anything to kind of give you an idea of who's going to be in the room that day?
Yeah, we do actually have a Circle app for our community where we have a free tier and we've got our paid members.
Brilliant. But for someone like you, imagine you're attending your event. Would
Exactly.
anybody...
Yeah, so they could join the free tier. We don't yet have a networking app, the one where you can actually, like Brella or something like that, where you're actually setting up networking on site. Would love to do that.
Yeah.
So,
okay, good. So like, imagine you don't have a Brella, but Brella is a wonderful tech solution. And for me, like a networking app is basically, yes, you can book meetings, but most of the time, in my experience, people just send the same things, like the pitch slap message that they would send on LinkedIn. And if you don't know what a pitch slap is, it's basically that, hi, let me tell you all about me and let me tell you why you need to know about me and my service, but not actually talk about you. So that aside, imagine you have an event app that basically gives you a showcase of who's in the room. So then you and I beforehand would sit down and go, okay, let's take a look who's in the room. Let's see who potentially fits what you're trying to achieve. And then we're going to come up with all of the conversations with those people on why it's beneficial, because you have a solution for them. They have a problem, but we just need to get you two connected. That's one way. If we have no idea who's in the room, we still have that meeting and we go, okay, I know who you are. I know what your problem is. I know what the solution you have, da, 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 da. When we get to the event together, this is where the wing person comes with you, right? And our job in that instance over the course of the conference is to basically try and help navigate and facilitate conversations, but also go, hey, have you met Sofie? She's actually doing this really incredible thing. I don't know if you know about it here at Epicenter. Like in a way that is relevant to the person and the conversation and never feels like it's gimmicky or salesy. Right? Because again, you're just bridging gaps and you're like, oh, I just met this person. And then post event is going through, okay, let's talk about everybody that you met. Now, I have a guy that actually reached out to me on LinkedIn, and I love, so I joked, so he didn't pitch slap me. He actually said, hey, Shaena, you seem like someone who goes to a lot of events. Do you remember everyone you meet? And I'm like, no, I don't. He's like, well, I think I have a solution for you. And then he sent me this thing, and it's called Linked Memo. So basically what I describe it as now, it's like an extra layer above LinkedIn. So I can scan your QR code. I can take a selfie with you, and then I can write a note to me. I'm like, met Sofie at, Arts Dynamics, the big conference. We need to talk about X, Y, and Z later. And then it'll go to LinkedIn, and then we can finish the connection. So for me now, when I go to all my events, I can turn on my event mode and be like, I was at Tech Arena last week. I did Super Connectors. I did, and then I can see all the people that I met. So I remember, especially for my clients too, oh, right, I met this person. I need to introduce them to this person. So I have both levels now, which makes it absolutely amazing. So that would be, I guess, the whole picture. But one of the beautiful things that I can never plan for, and one of my clients, we went to Slush together, Henrik, he's darling. I love him. I was calling him being like, okay, I'm in a podcast room and they need somebody with like, AI experience to come and talk. I think you should come. Like, can you come here now? And then he's bolting across like the Slush floor. And all of a sudden he's being interviewed on this really cool podcast. Or like, because I've been in this specific ecosystem for so long, I know people and I'm like, oh, it's like, where's the cool dinners happening? Because we were, for Slush, for example, we were 2.5 weeks before Slush. So we didn't, normally I'd be like, plan your events far in advance so you can buy like accommodation, travel tickets, but we didn't have that luxury. So I was able to get us a really affordable Airbnb because somebody had a leftover room that they couldn't use. We got us tickets to Slush, which seemed to be impossible. Again, just because I asked people in networks. Again, I can never promise these things, but I think that's also like the je ne sais quoi of a wing person is like you're working with somebody who's already embedded in an ecosystem, who already has a network in that specific vertical or that city and speaks all those languages. So that's kind of like the stuff I can never plan for, but I always joke it's like having a walking PR agent or a walking assistant with you. Like we do so much.
Yeah, you do, but it's also leaning into your own genius. You are already a connector. You're already very good at this. And I'm thinking people listening also, just going back to where we started, where do we fit in? Where do I fit in? What is my next step maybe? Or as I'm developing my company, whatever it is you want to do, it's also really leaning into who you are when you are in your full flow. And obviously you are a super connector already. So you've been able to turn that now into a business. And as you said, this is very much needed. That can be hard. It can be hard to walk into a room when you don't know anybody, especially when you go to these big conferences or events, or even small ones, I have to say. You come in and no one is really looking after you. And someone might say hi, and then you're just left by yourself. And maybe people are standing in small groups. You don't want to interfere, or they don't let you in. They might see you coming, but they still sort of show you the shoulder or the back. That can be really, really, really hard. So what I'm hearing you say is, yes, there is a strategy, there is a plan, and then you plan the event accordingly for your clients. Going into the event hosts, have you worked with people who are organizing the events to support them on the ground? And can you give an example of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I got really, really lucky. At least I think it's luck. So if you know Reuters, the news agency, they actually approached me on LinkedIn 2 years ago now, and they said like, we're interested in improving networking at our events. Love Kathy. She always feels so awkward. Kathy's amazing, by the way. And they said, they do X number of events per year. How would it work? So what we did, or at least what I did at the time, because at that time I didn't have an agency, just want to say I was really a solo wing woman, is to say, okay, let's sit down and let's design, what do you want to achieve with that specific thing? Now for them, they have a lot of C-levels that come to their conferences, and like any traditional conference, they're selling booth space. So they have sponsors and partners that are coming there that are buying, speaking slots or whatever it may be. But then they have all these decision makers coming to the conference. And so what we were able to do for them, or I keep saying I was able to do for them, was design a program for the C-levels. So they would come and they would have a pre-meeting, because they're also there for a reason. They want to meet people within their industry. They want to also learn and go. And so for all of these people, I was able to design different programs, but they had meetings with me ahead of time. And then when we got to the space, they had a familiar face. So it was kind of like a concierge service. But there was one, I can give you a great example. It was a pharma event. Lovely woman working in the space for like years. And she really wanted to talk to a speaker. Now, for some of the speakers, they're in, they're out, they're gone, like they're not there. And sometimes people can feel very intimidated about speaking to somebody who's on a stage. So I said, okay, well, I'll just go ask her if she wants to join lunch. And she's like, what, really? And so I went over and I said, hey, I have this person that wants to meet you, and we're just going to have lunch. Do you want to come sit down? And next thing I know, I've got them sitting together, which is very strategic in a way, because she wanted to meet her. They had a wonderful lunch together. And she said afterwards, she's like, thank you so much. Like the things that they were able to speak about. So again, I talk about these sort of moments, these design, like they're serendipitous, but they can be intentional. But if you have someone in your ecosystem, and there's great articles out there about like, for event producers, how do you equip your team, your volunteers, your people to understand how to support everybody? And we do trainings for teams too, because sometimes they don't want to hire like the external team. They want to do it in-house, which is totally okay. But like, how do you teach people how to be wing people? How can you help someone get to where they need to go? And even though this is a company, it's a whole methodology too. Because I always say, like, every wing person needs a wing person. When I go into an event and I don't know who's in the room, I don't want to be like, hi, I'm Shaena. I'm a professional wing woman. Like, that's pitching, right? And so if you and I go somewhere together, we just do cross introductions. And that's the concept of wing people, right? Like if you can introduce somebody, and you don't have to know the person either, you just need to have context to be like, oh, we were just talking about this. I think this is really interesting. You really vibe on that. Like we're both talking about AI, whatever the topic is. You're then a conversation facilitator. And then at some point you probably go, actually, I'm going to, as I always say, I'm going to love you and leave you. I have to go do this over here or whatever it may be. Again, it's just, for me, it's common sense, but I think that's the way that I was raised.
Yeah. We've got amongst our members, we've got the Riksteatern, the Swedish National Touring Theatre, we've got the Theatre Guillotine, we've got plenty of cultural workers, both organizations, museums, theaters, in the music industry and others. And as you're talking, I'm sort of visualizing how this would also fit in, not only, helping people attending those events, going to opening nights, industry events. There are many, many, many conferences and stuff in the cultural and creative industries, but also for the actual producers, the venues, the organizations that are hosting these productions, tours, events, all sorts of them, whether it is a sponsorship event or a fully fledged theatrical production, as we talked about. And I have to pinch myself a little bit, because I realize you and I were going to have so many fun discussions about this. And I'm actually doing a little bit of a shout out now to our members as well in this network. Listen to what Shaena has to say, because I feel that there is a lot that we can learn from her in how we can optimize our experiences in the creative fields. We are on the lookout for new audiences. Audience engagement is huge. Many people in the industry do feel awkward, many silos, you don't know where you fit in. So I think this is like a cross-sector thing, right? It isn't just one industry, it's like across them all. Yeah, so we talked about the two avatars, the one who's hiring you to go into a situation. Number two is the one actually hosting the actual event or production. The third one is just your everyday Jane or Joe who is there in the room, the audiences. Do you have any advice for people who might not have hired you? They are just there, but what can they do to enhance the experience of the event that they are attending? Just anyone. Does that make sense to you, that question?
It makes total sense. Absolutely. And it's funny, like even when I'm hired by a client, I'm still winging because my brain doesn't shut down. As I said, like I've been able to turn this weird superpower into a profitable business. But if you're going somewhere by yourself, I have a few pieces of advice that you can use. Now, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, I think that idea of just finding somebody else that might look like they're on their own can be a really good starting point. So usually my opening question to people is like, oh, so what brought you here today? Right? Not what do you do for a living? Like, what brought you here? Or like, if you're at an event, like, what's the thing you're looking most forward to? Like asking these sort of open-ended questions. Now, some people like to have conversations. Some people would rather hide in the corner and, drink their coffee alone. So it's you still have to decide on what gives you energy and what vibes with you. But, you were talking about before of like when people are like, close-shouldered. I learned this one just recently. I don't know if you know about the donut and the croissant.
No, tell me.
So if you think about like when people stand in circles, they're a donut, right? And you can't necessarily get in unless you like bite your way in. Whereas if you're a croissant in that crescent shape, you're leaving it open for other people to join. So if as a producer or like, and again, this comes with like, good moderation, is not telling people don't do that. It's just like, hey, let me tell you this thing, because people then can put it into their mind and go, oh, I didn't realize we do that, right? Or again, you're setting the intentions for how to be at an event. And like one of my other big things is a lot of conferences go, okay, go network.
Yeah.
But what are you supposed to do? Right?
Yes.
Like you're not giving instructions, and it doesn't have to be like, go find two people that you don't know. It doesn't always have to be like that, but it can be like, go find someone else that you don't know and like introduce them. I did super connectors here at Epicenter the other week, and I started with this facilitation technique. Is like, we're going to be wing people. Turn to the person next to you, tell them who you are, what you do, and what you need help with, vice versa. And then for the rest of the evening, introduce the other person, right? Because it's so much easier to introduce somebody else sometimes than it is to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And for this community, I'll make sure to send out notes whenever you do events like that, because I feel that there are so many that would really benefit from attending. And as a matter of fact, we've got Kathy here. Hi, Kathy. So good to see you. I think we met each other, both you and I, Shaena, and Kathy, at a sort of similar time many years ago. So it's so great to see you, Kathy.
Hey, Kathy.
So Kathy says, so when can we regular people expect to be able to get a wing person certification so we can be more in demand to work events?
What a good
Love
question. And I love the fact, like, like this is not staged at all, because it really isn't. So like Kathy, you're saying, what a great question.
Yes.
Actually, we're planning a Wing People Academy right now.
And cool,
yeah.
Cool.
So I'm really looking forward to it, because I think there's a lot of stuff about networking out there. And again, you can see the traditional stuff of, like, I think, who was it? There's that influencer in Sweden. Isabel, the makeup. I'm terrible with names and impact. She was just giving on Swedish TV about like the same sort of things, like be open, don't be closed, make eye contact, like the traditional networking stuff I talk about. But I think, again, our methodology of, now I say our, because now we are in our, of the Wing People is, again, like, how do we bring in these additional bits? Like, for example, the LinkedIn game, or, the ability to ask good questions that aren't like standardized. And then how do you build around that? So there's definitely stuff coming, Kathy. So yay.
Yeah, we look forward. And Adam, I'm doing a shout out to you again, my dear friend, because we are looking into our academy too, and bringing people in who are experts. And obviously this talk is part of that, and the things that you and I are planning, Shaena, as well. I'm so excited. And thank you to Epicenter. I actually have to give them a huge shout out, because, for them to hold the space for us to build what we're building, and together with other clusters as well as Epicenter, and we're a Swedish, Nordic, European, global community. It's amazing. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because we need some positive energy and some goodness injected into every day and what we're doing. And I hope that also this conversation can bring some hope and ignition. There are so many great things we can do.
I have a little secret for you, actually.
Yeah, do tell me.
Speaking of Epicenter.
Yes.
Epicenter, I keep saying Epicenter's adopting me. So you are a cluster captain, and I am in the works of becoming a cluster captain. And now this is how I understand what it is. So please tell me if I'm incorrect or incorrect. But to me, a cluster is a little ecosystem within Epicenter, for example, Arts Dynamics, where you get the space and the home for everything that you're building, right?
Yeah.
And so just last week, we've agreed that I'm going to bring in the human connection cluster.
Yes.
And so it's going to be so much fun, because I'm also excited I'm an accidental community builder, right? And a people collector, obviously, but my brain works. I'm like, oh, you do this, you need to meet this person, you do this. So not only do I get to be in the home of Epicenter and go like, oh, you need to meet Sophie from Arts Dynamics, you need to meet Albert from, the VR space. The human connection cluster is going to be for the neurodiverse community, because hello, undiagnosed ADHD, for the community builder. So the community, and Kathy can adopt me too. But also for those of us that are the spiders in the webs, which is cluster captains and is other people whose brains do the thing. So this is going to be the space for that. And we're going to talk about human connection in the age of AI, and how do you design better onboarding, offboarding programs? How do you have the human in the center space?
Yeah.
So that is currently in the works, and I cannot wait to officially launch. I don't know what our launch party is going to be, but it's going to be huge.
It is going to be huge. And we have Uli says human connection cluster. Cool. Yay.
Have you been on Uli's podcast yet, by the way?
No, I have to obviously hear it. Yeah. Hi, Uli. Great to see you. I'll definitely check that out. Thank you so much. We've got an engaged audience today. This is so amazing. Also, what's really great about what you're sharing, Shaena, is that not only, connecting and getting people together is one thing, but to actually have a system and a process and a methodology for it.
Yeah.
I find too that there are several cluster leaders or ecosystem builders There are actually many great people and ecosystems out there already. But what often happens is that those people hold space for others, but they don't really have people then holding space for them. So it can be rather lonely always giving, but to have someone that also gives back to you. Obviously, there's a lot of sharing and supporting, and also within the communities. I'm not saying that. But what you are doing to be able to help put this into, again, to optimize and to maximize and to streamline the human part of it, I think that is brilliant. The timing is.
And again, exactly what you're saying. We can learn from each other. And just like, for context, is that we used to, way before COVID, can't remember, we used to have, and I think Kathy, you were part of it. We had the community meetup. Odd name, but I think you get the point. But we used to have a dinner once a month, and it was for those of us in the ecosystem that were producing events, basically to talk about, like, okay, so what's happening in your world, and almost like a gathering for all of that. But I would always joke, one of our biggest challenges, the thing that always came up at every event, was how do we get a global events calendar, right? Like, and I'm like, oh my God, now there's, again, I'm going to go back to Luma. Imagine if everyone used Luma. So I think we saw that. So I'm going to shout out to Jason Dainter, who used to run Upstart, because I know we'd always joke on the way home of like, where's the calendar? And I was like, we can build one, but this is before AI, right?
Yeah.
And like, now we can.
Yeah. And speaking of AI and humans and human connections, here we are using these digital innovation tools. AI is brilliant in many, many ways. Speaking of where we are in time right now, I just read, and our new motto here is don't trust and verify. So please take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt. I did read, I need to triple check if this is true, that Meta has now applied for a patent that their AI will be able to replicate us when we are dead and just scrape all the social media platforms and then just continue, carrying on our personas after death. They also, according to the sources, say that they would never do that, but there appears to be a patent. Again, disclaimer, this could be fake news, but I'm putting it out there from a human perspective, and us giving so much information to these apps we add, and they know so much about us. Shaena, what do we do then if something happens and then we keep on living, but in sort of a digital avatar form?
I don't know. So let's bring this back. Like, so as someone, for those of you who might know, like, I lost my mom in 2024. I'm gonna cry now, but I can't imagine her being a digital. I'd love to have her, but I couldn't imagine her being a digital avatar. That would be weird.
Exactly.
Right. So I don't understand if they're doing that, why they would do that.
Yeah, me neither. We need to keep an eye on that, folks. If anyone listening here knows more about that, please let us know. And thank you for being so vulnerable and for sharing. Sorry about your loss.
No, but if I can, I'm going to give a shout out to my mom. My mom was the original wing woman. And, again, for those who know, she started the first Make-A-Wish charity in Canada. So I grew up in Winnipeg, Canada, but like with the most random life. Like Wayne Gretzky, the great, was her first wish ever granted. She stood outside the Winnipeg arena because she had a boy with cancer and he wanted to meet Wayne. And she basically got a letter into Wayne's hands. Later that night, he called her. Everything was arranged. And that was the first wish out of hundreds granted. And I think the reason I'm a connector today, the reason why I am who I am, is because I saw it, right? I learned it. And she did it with grace, and it was a charity, right? So, sadly, when my mom passed away, she died a broke philanthropist. And so, meaning that, all of these, she left a beautiful legacy. And actually, when she knew that she was going to pass away, so it was December 2023, she got the call that her cancer was terminal. My mom instead decided to use her death for good. And she launched a charity, so together we did a GoFundMe to raise as much money for the charity she started back in the 80s. She left in the 90s. And I got her on because, again, both of us are connectors and I want to say hustlers, but got her on major news, TV, radio, and everything. And the goal was to raise 60,000 Canadian dollars. We made it to 15,000 before she passed away. It's still open to this day, this charity. But that was my mom, right? She was like, what can I do to help somebody else?
Yeah.
Right? It's not about what's in it for her. It's like, how can I leave something for somebody else? And I think, again, that goes back to why Wing People is obviously this is a business. Obviously we make money, but ultimately I want to make sure that people are helping other people.
Yeah.
And the better we can do that, I think, again, the better the world will be. I know that sounds like let's solve world peace, but we can really help each other.
Yeah. Yeah. The decisions we make today impact tomorrow.
Yeah. So be kind, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Often we are stuck in the past, worried about tomorrow, but we fail to actually live in the present moment.
Mm.
And on that note, and again, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
I'm thinking on top of my head too, we should actually bring this into, with Arts Dynamics, we've got cultural firewall, which is all about safeguarding artists, creators, humanity as we move into tech. Because we do innovate with tech, and we want to help artists and creators, to monetize using all these new technologies. But we feel it's really, really, really important to add a cultural firewall layer to it too, not only to support the cultural and creative industries, because they also build identity for a society, for a country, and in the geopolitical environment we're finding ourselves in, it's really important to have that resilience. But this is also from a human aspect, when we, as we talk today, when we are using these tools and we are, using them as coaches or mentors, and we are asking it questions, and we're networking with other people and sharing a lot of information. If anything was to happen, like the example I mentioned, who looks after our interests then? And what can we do now to protect ourselves in the best way possible? So I guess what I'm trying to say in many words is, Shaena, can we please continue this conversation after this talk to see how we can bring in, we got cybersecurity experts and other people there, and I think we need a human expert and a wing person to help us wing.
Thank you. I would love to. Whatever you need, I'm always a yes. I think, and also, again, I'm going to point at Adam because I just see him on the chat, but he was mentioning to me before this is that Ireland's come up with and Adam, correct me, it's a grant or like a minimum living wage for artists. And I think that needs to be embedded in ecosystems all over the world, because not everyone who does something creative has a monetary thing behind it, right? Like you're building culture, you're building arts, you're building community, you're building this. So you need the infrastructure from the government in order to finance that, even if it doesn't have a clear KPI. I call it like, the intangibles, because it affects people. And like, if we look about like mental health and getting out in the world and not being isolated, I mean, we're in a loneliness epidemic right now. Right? We're on our phones and all of this stuff. It all goes together. And I think, as I said, when we are able to bring all of these people and decision makers together, but from different perspectives, then we can start to actually enact change.
Yes. And it's both in-person events and in-person connections, but it's also hybrid and digital and virtual connections. So we haven't even, started talking about immersive experiences and immersive events. When we move into that more and more, which we are already, we did at Folken Kultur. Kulturlyftet is also a member of Arts Dynamics, and we have the largest cultural political convent a year in Eskilstuna every February. And we actually did a cultural firewall session together with our cybersecurity expert Hanna Linderstål, where we talked about the technologies. We were how can I say, role playing what it would look like to plan a cultural festival, an outdoor culture festival. There is more and more talks, how to bring cities into the cloud, to create digital twins of cities and of creators and audience goers. And I'm thinking, as an extension of what we've talked about today, that we also need to bring your perspective and your expertise into those kinds of conversations, because again, human interaction, but one is being recorded and monitored, but we still want to have the connection. It's like it's happening either way. So it's like, how can we surf the waves and make the most out of it? So I'm seeing here, Adam kindly added, regarding Meta digital cloning us, it says the source was Business Insider. Thanks, Adam. And it says the company was granted a patent in late December that outlines how a large language model can simulate a person's social media activity, such as responding to content posted by real people. The language model may be used for simulating the user when the user is absent from the social networking system. For example, when the user takes a long break, or if the user is deceased, the patent says. And Arts Dynamics talks on a weekly basis. That's why we are here. We want you to be the first to hear the latest. We want to bring on the change makers and the movers and shakers at the very forefront of where we are right now, including Shaena today. So I'm hoping that this is of help and value. It's a bit scary, and at the same time, we just need to roll with the times and do what we can. Shaena,
well, for you, it's like creating the safe space to talk about it, right?
Exactly.
To have an open conversation. I have a question for you. Since you have your wing woman with you, and I always say, like, how can we support you right now with Arts Dynamics? What do you need from the community? What can we do for you?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for asking. I think this is about us together. What helps us is just if people find value in these talks, in our meetups, in the membership, the cluster membership, advisory, coaching, lab, whatever it might be, we're just super grateful for help to spread the word so that more people know that there is a space for creators to meet across sectors. A safe space, as you said. So I would just be super grateful for help to spread the word, I think. And if people then want to partner up with us or even, chime in some funding into it, we do have applications open for sponsors and partners to apply to work with us. We are very selective, who we work with, because we want to, we have a very strong sort of code of conduct, or like Bushido core values. So we want to make sure that.
Here's my wing woman question. Do you have a specific sponsor or partner that you would love to get an introduction to? And I'm not sure who's watching now, but maybe you want to say their name, and then maybe somebody in the network can help. Maybe I can help you. Maybe somebody else can help you.
Oh my God, I did not expect that. Adam, help. That is a good question. I tell people that I coach that they need to be ready with their elevator pitch. I realized that I wasn't ready for that.
If you would have hired me for a wing, then we would have been all strategic here. But this is absolutely not strategic.
No. Okay, listen. May I take a rain check on that, because that's actually a beautiful question, and I would like to actually give it some time to think. I've waited purposely to bring people on, because I wanted to make sure that we had the foundation in place so we could hold the space. So when we scale, we actually have a solid foundation and a structure that we rest upon, and have really great people in leadership, great people on the team, great community. And I feel that we are there right now. We actually do have that in place now, and we are literally just now opening up the doors to scaling. So if it's okay with you, I'd love to actually have a little bit of think outside of this event, think of it. And if anyone listening says, like, actually, we want to be part of this, let me know.
Exactly. I see Adam saying 3 legs. That's all I see.
Oh, 3 legs. Are you talking about that we've got the coaching, advisory, and mentoring and academy, Adam, which is the 1 leg? The 2 is the cluster leg, and the 3rd is the creative lab. Are those the ones you're mentioning? I love you're able to sort of jab. It feels like I'm having someone next to me in the studios. Yeah, so we do have that. We have both the academy, obviously, where we can partner up with people to deliver content and come in as experts. We do have the cluster where, like now, we're working with real estate and property developers for culture-driven urban development. We're working with Immersive Sweden when it comes to immersive experiences, the AI cluster, for the human side. And also the creative lab, where we're looking into, would love to find connections in humanoid robotics, would love to find experts in Bitcoin, and also cryptocurrencies would be great, and how to build decentralized platforms for artists so we can protect free speech, artistic freedoms. That would be awesome.
I'm just going to say this just for the record. Like, every time I hear crypto, I go, red flag. So
Yeah.
I need to come and like teach me where like, because I think crypto and Bitcoin got merged. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and I'm throwing it out there to say we need to pay a little bit of attention to what's going on in that field, especially with the rise of AI agents, because they use digital currencies when they purchase stuff, sometimes without the permission of their humans. So we need to be on top of that.
We definitely need to have a deep dive on this.
And Adam says, haha, I started to write different possible connections and started with 3 legs, but sent it away too early. That's so great. What an amazing call. It's time to sort of wrap up, and we've had an amazing crowd joining us today, very active feed. So first of all, thank you to all of you who've joined us live. If you are listening to this replay, I'm just going to again say, please let us know where you're tuning in from, what you're doing, why are you here, and just share.
How can we help you? I think that's how can we help you? How can we be your wing person?
How can we be your wing person? Exactly. Let us know how we can help you. And also, if you have anything you want to add to the community, what are the opportunities that you would like to offer? Sometimes that could be, it can go both ways. Exactly. That is so fantastic. So sort of final words as we're coming down to sort of the ending of this talk. I could do this for hours with you. Is there anything I haven't mentioned or anything I haven't asked?
Great. As I said, you've done absolutely amazing. I'm just going to add one thing. I think, you said at the beginning that you've seen me like flourish, but I've seen you flourish too. I mean, you and I met all those years ago, and just to see where I always joke, like started from the bottom, now we're here. Yes. But you've also gone through a very similar journey, and I don't know if anyone's interviewed you about that yet. So maybe we should do that in the future.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, whew. Yeah, it's quite a journey, And finally, is there anything we can do to support you moving forward?
No, again, the thing I always say is say my name when you're not in the room. And that goes for everybody. Say somebody's name when they're not in the room. And your reputation is everything somebody says about you when you're not in the room. So all I hope is that I've left you all feeling good, and and you feel like, that you want to do this. That's it.
Oh, I love that. And I'm going to add that to my ask as well. Once it's asked me before, that's exactly to feel safe when you're not in the room, and to have people vouch for you and to endorse you or to connect people with you. Shaena, what an amazing conversation. I'm so thankful that you've taken so much love, and you're getting so much love in the comments as well. I'm just going to double check that I haven't forgotten anything. If people want to find out more about you and your company and how they can hire you, or just book a session with you, your academy that you mentioned, where do they go?
So if they go to wingpeople.io, they will find the majority of everything, except for the academy. Kathy, I'm sorry, that's not live yet, but love to chat to you. And then I live on LinkedIn. Like, LinkedIn's my jam. You'll find me there. So find me. But my only recommendation is, if you can, please send me a note and just say, hey, I heard you on this podcast, or I met you at this event. And this is what I also tell my clients is, even if you're sitting beside somebody on LinkedIn, especially on the mobile, you can press the 3 dots and you can send a personalized note. Because again, you'll have that meet cute for the rest of your life. And Uli, you'll know that, like, I met him at the Norquan Fixathon in December, and he was just having coffee and we were just having a chat, and I sent him a note. But we have that as if we meet 10 years from now, you can scroll back to the beginning and say, I remember where I met you.
That is great advice. And don't pitch slap, Shaena.
Just if it's interesting for me, you're welcome to sell to me. Just make sure that it's for me.
Yeah, and not pitch slap. I think many of us can recognize ourselves in that. Get so many emails, and even when people want to be your friend, and you can tell just by the title or the way they word things, it's like, oh, I'm probably going to regret this. They will probably just cold sell something. And yes.
This is on, like, we have an AI. By the way, I do have an anti-pitch slap tool. If you go to wingpeople.io/anti-pitch-slap, we can put it in the show notes. It basically teaches you how not to pitch slap.
That is, we'll add that to the show notes for sure. Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for a fantastic conversation. I've learned so much and we've barely scraped the surface. I wanted to talk to you about future trends. I wanted to ask you about introverts and networking. That is a big deal in itself. And I have many
part two.
Huh?
We're going to need a part two.
Yes, I think we do actually. If you
he missed his name. I was just saying how amazing you are, and if you go back to our LinkedIn message, you'll find it. Just making sure. Sometimes, the internet is not our friends.
Yes, thanks. Okay, excellent. So thank you everybody for your comments. Just ping us in. We do have a free community with Arts Dynamics. We actually moved away from. We actually had a very active Facebook group, but a while back we actually started to transition into another app. Which is we actually have a free community for our meetup people and for anybody basically that want to connect with us, where we also will post this session, by the way. And for members, we are now adding a feature where we are making these videos searchable using AI, so they can also search for keywords, which is great also when you have a question, or like today we mentioned a few names, they can go in, they can find their comment and your response to that.
New members coming up here. Kathy said, oh yes.
Right? Excellent. That sounds awesome.
But where do they go?
I'll put the link in the show notes too. You can go to our website, Arts Dynamics. You're so good, Shaena. You sort of throw it back all the time. You go to our website, artsdynamics.com, and we actually do have a section that's called Community. Right now, I think it's below the About tab. We are making some changes to the website to make it even easier to log in. But keep an eye out as well on LinkedIn. We'll make sure to post it below the show notes, post it below the podcast show notes as well on the platforms where you will be able to listen to this podcast. And then just to leave you all with this. Thank you for showing up and for leaning in. We need you. The world needs you. Right now, we are at a tipping point. I wholeheartedly believe so. And it is more important than ever to take responsibility for the energy that we bring into a room and to ask not only what others can do for us, but actually what we can also do for others. And I think this conversation has just been so beautiful in the sense that you've been able to shine a light, Shaena, on how we can do that. So please help us just, protect humans, make humans thrive in the digital age. Connect with us on LinkedIn, through our website, listen to this podcast, spread the word, and give Shaena a lot of love through her LinkedIn posts as well. So yes, with that, shall we leave it at that? And welcome back everybody as well next Thursday. So every Thursday we go live between 12 and 1 Swedish lunchtime, and then you can always listen to the replays as a podcast. Shaena, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, everybody. Over and out.